you look for low integrity red flags, because if there's a red flag that implies low integrity, yes, it makes the deal harder to sell ultimately. But there's also probably something else that you may find out about
Correct.
at the last hour. Is that kind of fair?
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Nikonomics. And on today's episode, we have Jackie Hirsch. She's the owner and founder of Crown Atlantic Business Brokers. Now, not only is Jackie an investor, a business advisor, and with over 400 transactions under her belt, she's one of the most prolific business brokers in the country. Now, I first met Jackie at SM Bash, and honestly, her energy, her optimism, they're infectious. And I couldn't wait to sit down with her and have her on the show. She came on to talk to me about the biggest mistakes that people make, both buying and selling businesses, as well as what it was like to found a business in the 90s in a male-dominated good old boy industry as a young woman in Florida. If you're somebody who's trying to buy a business, or an entrepreneur and you're a parent trying to figure out how to juggle everything at the same time, you don't want to miss this episode. It's a great episode. Thank you, Jackie, for coming on. And if you like this episode, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share this with a friend. But with that, let's just get into the show.
Jackie?
Hey.
I'm stoked to have you. I've been looking forward to this day since SM Bash, when you didn't even know that I was going to ask you to come on here. So thank you. Thank you for accepting. And my goal with this is that by the end of it, you say, this was fun, and not, thank you for the invitation. I would very much appreciate that. Jackie shared with me just beforehand that thank you for the invitation is a nice way of saying this was a waste of time. So
No, it's actually, I didn't enjoy myself.
Oh, I didn't enjoy myself. Yes. Thank you. Jackie, for those who don't know you, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Jackie Hirsch. I'm the founder of Crown Atlantic Business Brokers. I've been selling companies for 25 years, which seems like a long time sometimes. And we sell companies. I also invest in companies. And I got started when I was 22. I'm 48. I just turned 48. I will not reveal my height, but I'm really tiny. I'm really tiny in person. In fact, I just posted a picture next to Eric Pasavici because we were at a happy hour together, and I'm wearing heels, and I don't even come up to his shoulder.
As Shakespeare would say, she is small, but she is mighty. So don't worry about that.
It wouldn't be a good thing if I were 6'5". I would be way too intense, I think.
It's funny.
This really large, friendly person.
I go back and forth with my wife. So my wife, she's not short. She's 5'7". Mm-hmm. But, she probably was born 10 years too early, maybe. I don't know. She's a stay-at-home mom at the moment. But I'm like, man, I'm so lucky you're not the husband. Because you just, she already bosses me around. She's German. She's like, Nick, the trains will run on time. Also, trains will not run at all. And, and I'm like, if you were a man and born with all those privileges of being a man, I'm scared for what you might, what havoc you might wreak in the world. So how did you get into what you're doing? Because I read your background, and I'd love for you to go into your background, but it doesn't necessarily match up with becoming a business broker.
This is how long ago 1998 was, when people don't realize how much time has passed. So I answered an ad in the paper. So I graduated college early. I was 21 when I graduated, had a job for a brief period and wasn't great at it. And so I saw an ad to be a business broker. And I loved business. As a kid, I loved business. As a little kid, I loved business. And I still love business and talking about business. And so I answered this ad, and the broker was going to hire anybody with a pulse who probably wasn't a criminal. And I had a real estate license because everybody in Florida has a real estate license. So he hired me. And I think pretty much everybody made fun of me in the office, and nobody would take me seriously. And it was super unpleasant in every sense of the word. The broker said, here's a bookcase over here, and you can read all of that stuff and watch those VHS tapes. And so I did. And I was the only person who had ever done that. So then I started learning stuff, and then I just started selling more companies than everybody else. Took a little bit of time, but he sold to another business broker, and I worked there for a bit, which was a complete culture clash for me. It was like working with somebody who thought they were the mafia. I don't know. It was hard. And then I started my own, and my first agent was my dad, but I started the company with my money. So I'm sure everybody thought that my dad started the business, and I didn't really care. My dad was a rocket scientist who graduated from Berkeley. He was super smart. He's super smart. And I'm like, Dad, it's not rocket science. I can teach you business brokerage.
It's true.
And that was
This
always the
is true.
joke. So my dad was retired when he started, and he started doing deals. And my brother joined us shortly after that. And because of where I came from, I never wanted a large brokerage. Like, it was always going to be small and lean and hustle, and we'll just take all the deals. And that's what we did.
You're an entrepreneur and you've invested in your own businesses, obviously. Why did you stay as a business broker? Why not buy some of these businesses? Or what is it about being a business broker that you've enjoyed?
It's an interesting question. So I felt like every time I got to the next earnings level, I would have had to buy a business 3 times larger, 4 times larger to get to that earnings level. So I kept jumping. And what I do is I'm a matchmaker. So it's a bit of an art, and there's a bit of romance to that in a way. I see people that I sold a company 25 years ago. There's somebody I'm working with right now. I sold them a company 24 years ago, and we're now looking at their 3rd acquisition. And
Wow.
that's awesome. So there's some stuff like that about it. But in the meantime, I did try some other things, and I got married, and nothing that's foreign to you, but a little bit of tragedy. I got married and I was pregnant 7 times. I have 1 kid. It's hard to
Oh,
have a
I'm
business when you're doing that. And then I had multiple companies. So you can only do so much with what your bandwidth is. And I didn't have a partner, and it's not like, I mean, how many unmarried, so like female partners that are not married to each other, do you know that have a business like you and Chris? Because I don't know any.
No, not right now. My hope is in maybe 10 or 15 or 20 years, we see that more frequently. But no, I'm
Maybe,
very,
you just don't see that.
yeah, it's true. It's true. And I'm very lucky that I have a spouse who's incredibly supportive and has allowed me to be successful, because without her, none of this would have been possible. And I can't imagine being a mother and a business owner, because even if you own a business, you work 40 hours a week, you're always mom. You come home.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Mom, like my wife and I come home at the same time from a date. Who do the kids run to?
Yeah.
They run to mom. And I freaking love my kids. I fall asleep with my kids like every night. We have a great relationship, but there's just something special about a mother and a child's relationship. So I just have immense respect for female entrepreneurs in particular, because you guys wear so many hats.
So in 2009, I showed a company. It was a 20,000 square foot facility elsewhere in Florida, because I'm in Florida. And we walked by a nursery, and I was like, God, let me see that room again. Like, let's go buy that room again. And so we saw, and I had just met Michael. Like, maybe I had just gotten engaged, and I wanted to marry Michael like right away. And we got married within the year anyway. So like a year and a week from when we met. So pretty quick. And so they had a nursery in the company. And I was like, I have an extra office at my office. And so when Melina was born in 2011, like, she has an office in our office, and she was with me for 3 years. So like, you ask like, why I didn't have another company in addition? It'd be hard. Like, she came with me to work full time. Michael used to travel for work. And then I used to work full time. She'd come with me to meetings sometimes. But it was just hard. Like, I breastfed her here at the office for a year, like, and work full time. And at that point, I had 2 companies. I had a home health company, and then I also had business brokerage.
So walk me through that. Okay. I have boys. I love my kids. And it's a dream of mine to have them work in the businesses that I own.
Yeah.
You've done that with your daughter. She's, let's see, 2011. So 14, 15, 14,
12,
13.
But okay.
Okay. I can do math. Jeez Louise. How long did that freaking take me to get to a number? And I was still wrong. Sheesh.
That was amazing. Okay.
Anyways, has that been fun? Has that been hard, trying to get her to understand what you do?
We talk about money all the time at our house. We talk about investing. Like, she knows we're on cap tables. She knows like what we do. She like knows like deal prices. Like, she like will tell me stuff is too expensive, or she'll tell me like, this is a good price, or we should be investing in this. We talk about it because I think that's important. I think a lot of people don't talk about stuff. We'll say this person, she goes to private school. And so she knows that private school costs this, and most people make this. And I was like, how would they send their kid to private school? She's like, I don't see how. I'm like, and that's why they're not there, because it's expensive.
Instill that in her. Like, how did you teach that to her? So my oldest son is 10. I love him to death. He can't keep a secret to save his life. And there's been several times where he's asked me how much money we have. Yeah. And I want to tell him, to help him understand, kind of like, hey, look, we sold some companies. This is my income. This is where we are. But every time I ask him, I say, look, if I tell you this, you can't tell your friends.
Yeah.
Can you do that? And he looks at me, he thinks about it, and he looks at me and he's like, yeah, you shouldn't tell me, Dad, because I don't think I can not tell them.
Yeah.
He's going to get older at some point and he'll be able to work through that. But for you and your daughter, how did you introduce her to those concepts early? Because I'm thinking about this a lot now with my sons.
We're big like Tuttle Twins fans. She reads those books and we were reading those to her. And
What is that? I don't know what that is.
Talked about the Tuttle Twins. Holy crap. Really? Oh my gosh. Connor Boyack. He's amazing.
The Tuttle
I need
Twins?
to send these to you. The Tuttle Twins. I think
What's it
he
about?
lives in Idaho. Well, the Tuttle Twins.
I'm not saying I'm cultured, Jackie. Okay. I'm just saying.
Oh, I think your kids would love it. He has books on like the golden rule and crony capitalism, about how like capitalism isn't good if it's like just your friends and you keep everybody out, through regulation, but unnecessary regulation. It's just amazing. So yeah, we've always been talking about stuff like that.
Tuttle Twins.
The Tuttle Twins. Oh my! You need to buy every single one of those books.
Well, I'm going to go on Amazon.
We bought them.
Saving a
we
bookmark
bought like
right now.
multiple sets for our children's
I've been,
library. Like we bought the whole set.
I've been thinking a lot about this. I want my sons to understand. I grew up with no money, and I had no concept of how I was supposed to handle it. My kids are growing up, thankfully in a much different situation. I want them to understand, what does it mean to manage your own money, but on top of that, what's the economy? What's the macroeconomic environment? Like, what do those things mean? And I do it myself, but yeah, I love having sort of it told to a child through these books. I'm going to check them out.
Absolutely. So, okay, I'm not a parental expert, right? And you have more kids than I do. But I will tell you this. I look at being a parent like I'm a tour guide, and I'd want to be hired for that job every single year. I always want to be hired for that job. So I think about it like, would my kid give me a job review, and what would it be? And what does that look like? Because I think yelling is like, you're going to step in a hole. Don't do that, right? Like that's yelling, but not like, I feel like the way people talk to their kids, sometimes they would never talk to a coworker that way. They would never talk to a stranger that way. So like, why are you speaking to your child that way?
Right.
So I really try and look at it like that. And for her to trust me, I have to trust her. And I really look at that and take it very seriously. And so I don't make fun of her. And like I have her back and I stand up for her. Although sometimes I think like my husband was worried that we were going to get kicked out of the school at the time during COVID, because I was like fighting the mask policy and like I was fighting hard. And he texted me, he's like, you need to stop. And I wrote back, not stopping. And like when Michael asks me to do stuff, like I almost always do it because I love him. And he's my number one, like tied with Melina. So it's hard, but yeah, I will fight for her. And she knows that. So I think there's a really strong basis of trust, and then a really big information exchange. I'm always trying to listen to her and hear her perspective. And then really I'm trying to get her to understand the world through all sorts of different things like psychology, money, fitness. Like we have a home gym, and it's a serious home gym, and we all work out in the gym 6 days a week in our house.
And she's there.
So she's there. She works out every day. She's a Taekwondo black belt, and she does trapeze and archery. She's like amazing.
You probably don't think of it this way, but you're brokering her experience in life. Like your job is to take this human being, learn everything about them, make sure that they feel comfortable, make sure that they trust you, make sure that the advice that you give them is taken, right? Which is exactly in a broker relationship, and then show them their options and try to get them to understand. And eventually, ultimately they have to make their own choice, but hopefully you're giving them enough good information. So I like seeing you take your brokering experience and apply it to your daughter, because
you know what? It's very much like that.
Yeah.
I would say maybe I was always a parent. And maybe I've always been like this with my clients. You can't buy this. This is a mess. Like, do not do this. And, I did business like that yesterday. We had a showing, and in the deal, I'm like, or in the Zoom call, I'm texting, I'm like, you cannot buy this. This is a disaster. Like I'm texting like in the call. Like I'm like goodness. On the screen like this. And then I'm like, yeah. Oh and then I abruptly ended the call with, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for the invitation. So, okay, here's my question. You've sold over 400 businesses since 1998. That's a lot of businesses. 400.
It's a lot of businesses. Yeah.
Are there any businesses that stick out to you? or experiences that stick out to you that you're like, I'll never forget Johnny Brown?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of experiences. I have people, die during the deal or after the deal,
Die?
or I hear when people are sick. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I sell some serious stuff and I got to take it very seriously. I take it very seriously, and
Yeah.
I had somebody call me and they're like, my husband has a mistress. And I was like, oh no, not one of these again. But she's like, it's the business. The business always wins out over dinner or dates or travel. Like the business always wins and I want her gone. I want that business gone. And they had it for 40 years. And I said, okay, I got it. And then some of my sellers, they grew up with nothing. And then I hand them like a check for millions of dollars. Right. And so I'm dealing with somebody who grew up in a trailer and now they're a multimillionaire, and they've been a multimillionaire for a bit, but it's really hard
On
for
paper.
them to merge those two people sometimes. No, not in paper, like still a multimillionaire and then get like another few million. It's hard. And I get that because my family, my dad was a rocket scientist. So there were 4 kids. And so we had plenty of love and we had everything we needed. But I saw that there was a lot more out there and there was a lot of stuff we couldn't do. And like, I feel like that like child lives within me. And so I have to like take down every deal, have like millions and millions of deals pending for me to feel like I can put food on the table, which is ridiculous. I probably could not work for 15 years and be fine.
I've been there.
Yeah.
What's your typical deal profile? Like, are you dealing with $10 million or less? Are you dealing with $20 to $50 million deals? Like what size of deals do you typically broker?
A lot of 10 million and under. I would say like deal size, like 1 to 10 million. I would say my average deal size is about 3 million. Like I love doing those deals all day long. I think I sent you one that I just closed on a couple weeks ago. It was for 4.2 million, 1.1 EBIT. I mean, just, I can do those all day long.
Okay. If you don't know the answer to this, we can come back to it.
Okay.
What are your biggest deal red flags? I wish I would have emailed you this before we started, but as you think about it, as you're looking at deals and you evaluate deals, when you're looking, what are the biggest red flags that you see?
Okay. So deals are like people, right? You usually see the red flags right up front.
Okay.
Usually, right? You might choose to ignore them. You might choose, but you usually see them up front. So I had somebody call me yesterday and he has a business. I won't say what it is, what kind, because there's not that many like it, but it's a nice industry. And he's taking like his net to him is probably $1.2 million, $1.3 million. Okay. Consistently.
Yeah.
But he doesn't file tax returns. Like he doesn't file tax returns and it's shocking.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, listen, I can't. I'm like, are you willing to file tax returns? He's like, I see you don't have any experience in this, and hung up. I was like, you're right. I don't have experience with criminals. You're right. Feel free to hang up.
Good luck selling your business to Pablo Escobar.
Yeah. So it was interesting. So red flags,
Taxes.
Well, obviously, if somebody's going to, I don't mind if somebody deducts a bunch of stuff because I think that as a business owner, you can use the tax rules to your advantage. And there is a tax consultant and he'll tell you about one of the rules that says if you order furniture and have it delivered to your office and it stays in your office for 1 day, you can write it off. I'm not saying I would do that because I find it horribly inconvenient. I don't like dealing with furniture anyway. Why would I do that to my office and make myself crazy? But you can do that. And I'm not here to give tax advice. I'm just saying what he said. But I think if somebody's paying people under the table, I think if somebody's has certain vendor relationships, you have to really look at that. Because why wouldn't you run a clean business so you can do your own stats, you can do your own KPIs, you can do your own analysis? If you're not even thinking on that level of strategic, planning, just even a little bit, it's going to make it challenging to sell the business. And every business has something challenging. Well, when I speak in boot camp, yes, I speak for Sam Rosati's boot camp on dealing with a broker, which is super fun, by the way. I love doing that. It's like a joy, a new joy that I'm loving. But, we talk about how deals are like people and they all have hair. I've never met a deal without hair. So 90% of what's on the market is garbage and 10% has problems. And so you'll be buying like the 10% with problems.
I think if I were to summarize, I'm going to put words in your mouth and then you tell me what I'm saying. what I'm hearing from you and the way you're describing these things is you look for low integrity red flags, because if there's a red flag that implies low integrity, yes, it makes the deal harder to sell ultimately. Yeah. But there's also probably something else that you may find out about.
Correct.
At the last hour. Is that kind of fair?
Yeah. And I have never thought about it that way, but I feel like a lot of my sellers have a lot of integrity, and they're people I'd want to hang out with. They're people I'd invite over into my house and be with my family. And if I don't feel like that, I don't usually want to take the deal, because after 25 years, I don't have to take every deal.
Right.
So if somebody makes me feel weird, or I just don't feel like it'd be a business I'd be interested in buying, or a business I'd be interested in investing, like, how am I going to sell that to somebody else? It has to be compelling.
Do you only do sell side brokering, or do you do buy side brokering? Or like,
no, I'll do some buy side brokering, but I don't take a buy side fee. So in the state of Florida,
that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, in the state of Florida, we co-broker, which is unusual. Not every state does that.
Yeah, no, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, it's unusual, and I do
like
enjoy
real estate
it. And I would
almost.
say it is. Like, I would say like 30% of my transactions might be co-brokered, and you have brokers you like and brokers you don't want to work with. And so you have to build that trust with those people as well. And you have to show up as trustworthy. But for the state of Florida, I did the webinar this year on how to package a business properly.
I've never bought a business through a broker.
I know. I heard that. I thought that was great.
I've bought 7, 8, somewhere in that range of businesses. But that's not entirely true, to be honest with you. I did once work with a sell side broker. They called themselves a sell side broker. All they did was introduce me to the seller, and that was it. I did everything else. I did all the due diligence. I did all the negotiation. And then I paid a 10% fee on the sale. It was stupid. I'm glad I did it because it was a very, very good deal. But anyways, my experience with the majority of brokers, and I can already tell you're not the majority of brokers, is they will play it really close to the vest. And they won't. The reason I don't like to go through them is because they don't allow me to talk to the seller. And I know that part of my value props, part of my superpower is building a relationship with somebody. So if I can't build a relationship with the seller, then we're just competing on price. And if I'm just competing on price, I don't have really any interest in buying that business. Hearing that from me, what do you look for when you're talking to someone who's like looking for a business?
Right.
Are you looking for what are the attributes that you look for in that type of a person?
Again, so I want somebody who seems to have high integrity, who's going to take care of the team, who's going to treat them well, who's going to treat the customers well. So I'll tell you, there's a business that I put pending just a couple weeks ago. And no, was it last week? May have been last week. Yeah, it was last week.
It all runs together.
It all runs together for sure. So I was at boot camp, and there was this former boot camper, and he had been looking at deals here in Orlando. And there's a business that came on the market. You got to sign the NDA for this, like, now. And because he was so prepared, he had a 1-page on himself. He had lending pre-qualifications. Really, actually, it was more than 1 page. It was like resume, bio, what I'm looking for. He had a picture of me and my dog and my wife, and like really clear. And so when I sent the NDA, I sent that. And the other broker sent that to the seller, and the seller immediately started researching this guy and found out that they knew all these same people. Oh, so when we got on the call, I was able to get a Zoom call because like this broker knows I hustle and I will close that deal and he won't have to do anything. So it's a good deal for him, and I'll run the whole deal and he'll just collect his fee. Okay, fine. So, and I'm happy because my guy gets the deal. The whole call, the first call was who they know, what those people are doing, where they live, where they like to vacation.
Oh, that's
there was
awesome.
Nothing about them. I'm like, what's this business do? I don't know what this business does. And then the second call was about them taking care of their dads. Still don't know what the business does. Don't know who works there, but there were 4 full price LOIs, and my guy got the deal. And I believe it's because that initial 1 page.
I tell everybody I talk to, I've been flooded with people who reach out to me on Twitter. They're like, hey, I'm trying to buy this deal. What do you think?
Right.
Every person I talk to, you can disagree with me on this. I say in the first conversation, don't talk about price or finances. Just get to know them. Just have a conversation. Like, you need to feel comfortable with this seller, and they need to feel comfortable with you. So, because if you don't feel comfortable with them, who knows what skeletons are hiding in the closet? And if they don't feel comfortable with you, and you have trouble financing, or inevitably, like any deal, something comes up, it just makes it really hard to work through those things if you guys don't have a relationship. And if you come in first question, what was your EBITDA last year? Then it's like, oh, okay, this is just a transactional relationship. So I'm just going to base it on the transaction itself as opposed to a relationship, which is what it should be. And so for me, it's like, we may talk about it, right? It may be like at the end of the call, or we may say something about price, or they may ask a question, but I am never going to bring that up on the first call because I don't care about it on the first call. I care about how is this business run? And I can tell that by the owner. So that's good. I think that's a good sign that they were talking about.
Absolutely. And whereas I know one of the other buyers that was looking at it, and that guy asked like all of those ratio questions. What are your KPIs? What's this? What's your CAC? Blah, 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 blah. Right? And I'm sure the seller's like, and he doesn't know why he didn't get the deal. I know why.
Yeah. All right. Let me ask you this. You're a broker. You've seen thousands of deals. You've closed hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Right now, let's say you go back and you're buying your first business and you couldn't be a broker. What is attractive to you? What would you go after? What are you like? I love this industry.
So as a kid, okay. So first, my favorite toys as a kid, I had a large metal Tonka truck, like it was an auto trailer. And then I had a farm. And so I would transport stuff, right? I would be doing my own like animal brokering commerce, right? That's what I would do. And so I love that. So I love farming and I love construction, but the other business I wanted was Bob's Barricades. So Bob's Barricades were like everywhere in Florida. And I don't know who Bob was, but I always wanted to meet him. And whenever they had construction, they would put up the barricades and it would be Bob's Barricades. And I was like, gosh, I love that business. And sometimes I wonder like if I would have felt like I could have gone into construction, because that was like one of the things I really loved. And when I was in school, I graduated high school and I had a full ride to college. And again, it was lean in our family. So my sister was in law school while I was in college. And then I had two other brothers, and one of my other brothers wanted to become a doctor, which he did. And I didn't really have any time to like experiment. Like I got a business degree and I got out in 3 years and like done. And minor in Spanish and out the door. University of Florida.
Okay. You didn't get to necessarily go out and explore and experiment on the things that you wanted to do.
No, I mean, I did. I was super active on campus. And so I did a lot with that. And I was in a very active campus organization called Blue Key. It's only in Florida. But if you go to the University of Florida, it's like a big deal to get into Blue Key. And so I got into Blue Key and I did stuff like I'd be backstage for all the concerts, and I was in the homecoming pageant, which is not Miss UF. Those are different. Like homecoming pageant is like the women that are active on campus. It's like a bunch of, and I'm not insulting myself. I'm just saying it's like a bunch of 8s versus Miss UF is like a bunch of 10s. And so it's like two different pageants. So this was like the ladies that are super active on campus and all have careers. They will all
It was
be
like the
working
pageants. It was the pageant for Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec. Have you ever watched that show?
Probably similar.
She's just passionate. She's passionate about governance. She's passionate about student Yeah, it's great.
I mean, it was like that. So, I mean, it was, and honestly, like it was the first time, because I didn't know a lot of those women. And it was like, oh my God, there's a lot of women like me, or at least this group of 20 people that are super ambitious and always working like crazy. And I was like, gosh, there's other creatures out there like this, because I was always a little envious. Like you asked me like before, like, what would be my dream job? I'd love to be a stay-at-home mom. Like that, there's something really exciting about that. I sometimes feel like the Ray Bradbury story, like Rocket Man. When in that story, Elton John writes a song on the Rocket Man, and it's about like when you're in space, you want to be home, but when you're home, you want to be in space, and you can't really quite mix the two.
We're going to end with my rapid fire questions.
Oh, okay, let's do it. I love live surprise.
What do you love about being a broker?
I love that I work with really smart people, both buyers and sellers, and people really trying to do something. We usually have a lot of the same kind of life outlook on how things should be, trying to do better for the community, trying to do better for your family, how things could be different, how to better support the staff. I love that. I never get tired of that. And I never get tired of community building and selling a business to somebody and they're going to keep all the staff and keep it going and grow it. That part's really exciting for me.
What are the downsides? What do you hate about it?
Sometimes I'm so in it. We did an F reorg on a deal recently. I thought it was just going to end everybody from the bank to the M&A law firm, or they said they were an M&A law firm and they've never done an F reorg, and just renaming this like small corporation was like, it was insane. So I think sometimes I get really stressed out, and you had a guest on this where they work like crazy because they don't know when is enough or how to step back or how to, and so I have to manage that, like not let the deal run me and really try and keep the party going, but nobody's having fun. So there's some stress in it. And yeah,
that's a really good analogy. I've got to keep the party going, but nobody's having fun. Jeez Louise, that's spot on for a broker.
And just when you think you've seen it all and 400 deals, and then there's of course deals that didn't happen, you see something you've never seen before. You're like, I didn't see that coming.
I did not see that one coming. All right. Here's my last question.
Okay.
What are you obsessed with right now? If you have a free 2 hours, okay? If you have free 2 hours, what do you open up your MacBook and you're like, oh, I'm going to go research something, or I want to watch a show, or I want to listen to podcasts, or I want to go hike. What are you obsessed with right now?
Okay. Well, usually if I have time, I go to the park with Melina, right? So, hang out with Melina, obsessed. We scooter, we will work out in the gym or go places or just do stuff. Always that, spending time with Michael and Melina. And then I'm trying to read. I'm always trying to like do either manifesting or reading other, publications. And then I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm always trying to download as much information, always on 2X,
Yeah, of course.
So
one time is too slow.
No,
I
I
had somebody tell me recently that I need to slow down the pace of my talk, because he's like, people listen to this on 1.5 or 2 times and you just sound really fast compared to what it was. Anyways. So
correct. No, you were at 1.75. Actually, I did have to take it down, but but I think like sometimes like it depends upon the audio of the other person, which is why I was so like, I had to have a good microphone for this because I didn't want the audio to be bad. Sometimes I hear like bad audio. And so when it's like not clear audio, I can't do 2X. I can only do like 1.5.
Yeah. All right. That makes sense to me. Well, this was awesome, Jackie. I really, really appreciate you making time. And I honestly can't wait to talk to you again, because this was a fascinating conversation. Where can people find you? Where's the best place? I'm
on Twitter. You can do at SMB Jackie Hirsch.
Okay.
That's there. But I love your deal therapy that you're doing. I think it's helping a lot of people.
Good.
Your unlicensed deal therapy. It's amazing.
Yeah. Sit down on the couch. We'll talk about all your childhood trauma. Right. It's so good.
Trauma, money, religion. Like, let's cover it all.
All of it. Well, Jackie, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I told you she's likable. Energy's infectious. She's awesome. Big thank you to Jackie for joining us. I think as I've had time to reflect on our conversation, I wanted to drive home a point that kept coming up in my mind as we were speaking. And that is, not all brokers are bad. Now, I've never bought a business through a broker, but I've spoken to a lot of brokers. I've sold a business through a broker, but I've never bought a business through a broker. And I think sometimes brokers get a bad rap, and there's definitely some bad brokers out there. But Jackie is one of the good ones. As you're looking for a business, you want somebody who's on your side, who can be an advocate for you, who understands the process, who understands the nuances of how to get a seller and a buyer on the same page. Because many times the broker is just playing middleman. They're trying to make sure that the deal doesn't blow up. They've got exceptional people skills. They're smart. They understand the market. They calm and reassure everybody. And as you're going through the deal process, there will be points along the line where the deal looks like it's going to blow up. And if you don't have somebody competent in your corner like Jackie, then it is going to blow up. If there's not somebody there to bring the temperature down and tell everybody to take a breath, it's really hard to self-regulate when you're just negotiating buyer and seller. So having a broker there is incredibly important as you're trying to close the business. If you found something valuable in this episode, I'd love to hear about it. Leave a comment, send me a note, nick@cofounders.com. And always remember, there are no such things as dumb questions. There are only dumb people unwilling to ask dumb questions. I'll see you next time.